All right, begin drawing a portrait. I want you to take your paper and fold it in half twice from the bottom to the top. So when you open it, you'll have 4 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then fold it across horizontally so that you have the center, okay, the middle of your paper. So now that you'll have 8 pieces all together. The handout might be helpful as you begin drawing your portrait. Begin starting by drawing an oval. Use those handouts as you begin drawing your your portrait. The eyes, the nose, the mouth, those guidelines will really help you out. Halfway down will be where I put my eyes. Halfway between my eyes and the chin will be for my nose, and then that small little mark that I made will be used for my mouth. When you begin drawing your eyes, think about them as almond shapes. Okay, just begin drawing an almond shape as you begin to get started. This will be a great place to get started. And then when you start thinking about drawing your eyes, the pupil and the iris of your eye, do not draw the full circle of the eye. Part of your eye is covered up by your eyelid, so sketch that out, drawing only partial parts of your eye. After you've drawn your eye, go ahead and start moving into your nose. I like to start out very lightly in pencil. If I don't like what I've drawn, it's so much easier to erase if I've drawn lightly in pencil. After I've drawn lightly in pencil, then go ahead and darken it up with your pencil line so that you can see what you've drawn after you like what you've drawn. And then go ahead and start sketching in where you want to put your eyebrows, your mouth, and anything else that you want to use for your portrait. So you'll notice that little line that I started with, the upper lip is skinnier or smaller than the lower lip. So as I begin taking my pencil, I keep that in mind. My lower lip is thicker, my upper lip is lighter. So just go ahead and keep that in mind when you're drawing your lips. Then instead of using the oval shape that I started with, I started thinking about making more of my cheeks and my chin. So making it look like more of a head shape than an oval shape. After I've drawn my overall shape that I wanted to use for my head, I'm going to go ahead and sketch out where the neckline comes. Please don't keep this line too skinny. Your neck is actually pretty thick. So thinking about where, if you touch where your ears are at, you can feel your neck coming down from the corners of my ears. So after I've drawn my neck, my shoulders, I'm going to go ahead and continue moving on into where I have my hair. When I think about drawing hair, go ahead and go below the oval as well as outside of the oval for your hair lines. Now my portrait is starting to look more like a portrait. The line that you began with, the oval, is going to get painted over. You're not going to be able to see that eventually later on as you continue your work. But I just went ahead and I used that as a basic starting point, so I knew where I could draw the inside line of my hair and the outside line of my hair. Don't think about drawing every single hairline. Notice I'm not spending any time shading in my hair with pencil. After I've done my whole drawing and I like my portrait, I'm going to go ahead and make those lines stand out a little bit better by outlining it with some oil pastel. Any line that you don't want to show up, don't outline it. All of those pencil lines will disappear once we start painting over top of our project. I'm going to go ahead and continue outlining now. All right, for the painting steps in this process, I've just grabbed some tempera cakes and added a brown plus a white to give me a facial color that I can use for my skin. I'm just mixing these onto the tray and painting over my ears, my hair, adding white to make it more of a skin tone. You might want to have less white if your skin tone's a little bit darker. And I'm just going to experiment using tempera cakes that I can use as a base color. Grab a mat for any parts that are going off of the edge of the paper so your table doesn't get full of paint when you're working today. Now, This paint dries relatively quickly, and so if you have areas that you can go ahead and start using oil pastels to design and decorate, go ahead and do that. So I've taken some oil pastels and I've gone over some of my lines. Any parts of my paint that is wet, I'm going to have to wait and let dry. So my nose, I can't draw on it yet because it's still got wet paint on it. So while the paint is drying, go ahead and start drawing some flowers or some gemstones into the background of your project. While you're drawing, the paint will be drying and it'll allow you to go back and start putting oil pastels on as well. So this idea sheet is super helpful as I begin drawing my flowers or my gemstones going around for the background. Now, while you're still waiting for that paint to dry, I started using some of the same colors that I used on my portrait, and I started to paint inside my flowers that I have for my background. This is the first layer that we'll use for our background. Just like on our face, go ahead and mix some of the colors together so that you can get some cool effects happening. Go ahead today, start mixing your paints into your background and then let it dry. Lastly, if you find that your paint is already dry, go ahead and get your oil pastels out again and start adding on a few more details onto your self-portrait. If you want things to stand out, if you want to add more designs, more textures, more patterns onto your portrait, now's the time to do it. When everything is dry, you can really start making everything stand out, outlining it with black, adding on some details. I just love this part of the project. It's so much fun making everything stand out and just look amazing.